Breaking news from Ghana. A military aircraft has crashed under unclear circumstances, sending shockwaves across the nation. The incident occurred earlier today during what officials say was a routine operation. Eyewitnesses reported seeing thick smoke and hearing a loud explosion moments before the aircraft went down. It was a flight that was meant to bring development, but instead, it delivered a national tragedy. On the morning of August 6, 2025, a Ghana Air Force Z-9 helicopter carrying some of the country's most senior officials took off from Accra. Just minutes later, it disappeared from the radar. What happened in those final moments resulted in the deaths of all 8 people on board, plunging Ghana into a state of mourning and raising urgent questions about aviation safety. At around 9:12 a.m. on Wednesday, a Ghana Armed Forces Z-9 utility helicopter departed from the capital, Accra. The passengers included a high-level government delegation, 3 military crew members, and 5 officials. They were heading to Obuasi in the Ashanti region to attend an event for a new program aimed at tackling the complex environmental and economic issues surrounding cooperative mining. The aircraft, a Chinese-made Z-9, is known as a reliable workhorse for the Ghana Air Force, often used for transport and other critical missions. The flight was considered routine, a standard trip for leaders carrying out their official duties. But shortly after takeoff, something went catastrophically wrong. Air traffic control lost all contact with the helicopter, and the aircraft vanished, sparking an immediate and frantic search. The helicopter's last known position was over the dense forests of the Adansi-Akrofum district. When the aircraft never arrived in Obuasi and couldn't be raised on the radio, the Ghana Armed Forces knew it was an emergency. It wasn't long before their worst fears were confirmed. People in rural communities near the flight path reported hearing a loud, unusual noise before seeing the helicopter descend quickly. According to eyewitnesses, the aircraft struck a tree before it hit the ground and burst into a massive fireball. The impact was devastating. Horrifying footage from the scene showed the wreckage completely consumed by flames, with debris scattered throughout the forest. The fire was so intense that the aircraft was almost unrecognizable. It was tragically clear from the start that no one could have survived. The 8 people on board, dedicated public servants, and the military crew flying them, were all lost. A mission of progress had ended in a horrific tragedy, leaving a gaping hole in the nation's government. Confirmation of the crash sent shockwaves across Ghana and the international community. At the Jubilee House, Chief of Staff Julius Debra held a press conference, his expression grim as he officially announced the deaths and called the crash a national tragedy. The president immediately ordered all national flags to be flown at half-mast to honor the victims. The outpouring of grief was immediate and widespread. Mourners gathered at the homes of the victims and at the headquarters of the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC party, which had lost several of its key figures. Tributes came from all sides of the political divide, from civil society groups, and from international partners, all expressing their profound sorrow. The crash stands as one of Ghana's worst aviation disasters in recent memory, not just for the number of lives lost, but for the devastating impact on the nation's leadership. The Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority have launched a full-scale investigation to determine exactly what caused this disaster. While still in its early stages, the work has already begun at the crash site in Adansi-Akrofum, where investigators are painstakingly combing through the wreckage to piece together the helicopter's final moments. A top priority is the recovery and analysis of the helicopter's flight recorders, the so-called black boxes. These devices hold critical flight data and cockpit audio that could provide the clearest answers about any technical failures or human factors that may have led to the crash. Investigators will also be closely examining the Z-9's maintenance history for any signs of pre-existing problems. While officials have stressed that nothing is being ruled out, early speculation points towards possible mechanical failure or difficult weather conditions. As a standard precautionary measure, the Ghana Air Force has grounded its fleet of Z-9 helicopters pending further safety reviews. Finding out what went wrong is critical, not just for the grieving families, but for the future safety of military aviation in Ghana. The 8 people who died in the crash were more than just officials and crew members. They were central figures in Ghana's public life. Among the victims were 2 of the country's government ministers. Ghana's Minister for Defense, Dr. Edward Omain Boma, was a medical doctor who had served in several major cabinet roles and was deeply involved in national security. Also lost was the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, Dr. Alhaji Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad, who was also the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. He was on his way to tackle the very environmental issues his ministry was created to solve. Others who perished include Alhaji Nuru Muhammad, the acting Deputy National Security Coordinator, and Dr. Samuel Sarpong, the Vice Chairman of the NDC. These were experienced public figures deeply connected to their communities. The 3 members of the Ghana Air Force crew who died in service to their country were Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Twum-Ampadu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. Their deaths are a solemn reminder of the risks that members of the armed forces take every day. The crash of the Ghana Air Force Z-9 on August 6, 2025, is a deep and painful tragedy, one whose impact will be felt across the nation for years to come. 8 lives dedicated to public service were cut short in an instant. A flight that was supposed to deliver solutions ended up delivering only heartbreak. As investigators work to find answers, Ghana is left to mourn its leaders, comfort their families, and reflect on the immense loss. The questions surrounding this crash demand answers to ensure such a disaster never happens again. We will continue to follow this investigation as it develops. To stay updated with the latest findings as they are released, make sure you are subscribed to our channel.